I should be at Central Coast Stadium right now watching the Central Coast Mariners take on Wellington Phoenix, but unfortunately, that game has been postponed. It's one of 4 games that have been postponed in round 6 of the A-League men's competition. It's been a dramatic weekend, and to be honest, we didn't expect it to go like this heading into this weekend. Of course, did the predictions video heading into this round. A big round with plenty of big games, and only 2 of the matches have gone ahead. We're going to talk about those games now because there were some pretty big results when it comes to Melbourne Victory, Sydney FC, both picking up wins. But as I mentioned, 4 games postponed, which is, it's worrying signs at the moment. Of course, we all know what's going on with the pandemic, which is still going on, and it's not helping the league at the moment. And unfortunately, a lot of teams having to play catch up sometime in the future when all of these games have to be rescheduled. And we saw it in previous weeks. We know what's going on with Perth Glory. They've been all over the place at the moment. And I believe they managed to get home for Christmas, but yeah, dude, it's a bit of a mess when you look at it at the moment. We're going to break it down a little bit in this review, but I do mainly want to talk about the games that we did watch, and it's funny, across the whole weekend we had 2 games, and they happened to be played at exactly the same time. So Melbourne Victory, Western United. We did a watch along for this one here on YouTube, and it was a lot of fun because, in my opinion, it was the most fun I've ever had for a watch along so far this season. Melbourne Victory 3, Western United 1. And this was a huge clash because Western United heading into this game with 4 consecutive 1-0 victories. They've been building some really good form. Only conceded 1 goal so far this season and lost 1 game, and that was against Melbourne Victory. Roderick Miranda grabbing that header in the opening round to defeat John Aloisi's side. So heading into this game, there was a little bit of interest in terms of, is this system that West United play where they'll sit back, they'll absorb pressure, they like to hit on the counter-attack. They've got quality players who can, have the potential to create goals on the counter-attack using their pace, with the likes of Wenzel Halls, Connor Payne, Lockie Wales. Dylan Perea started in this game as well. But they came up against the quality of Melbourne Victory, who have looked very good so far this season. There was 2 quick-fire goals that came in the first half for Melbourne Victory. First of all, Jason Guerrier grabbing his first goal. He's played over 100 A-League games now, and it was his first ever A-League goal. So congratulations to Jason Guerrier for getting his goal. It was a big achievement for him. And I believe it's Alex Roofer at the moment at Wellington Phoenix, who currently stands top of the list of current players who haven't yet scored an A-League goal, and I'm pretty sure he's played over 100 games as well. But barely a few seconds later, barely a minute later, Josh Brillante doubling the lead for Melbourne Victory. It was the 19th minute, and it was a really nicely worked goal. They cut through the Western United defence straight after the kickoff. Jake Brimmer involved. He was yet again fantastic. Every game this season, Jake Brimmer has been the centre of the attack for Melbourne Victory and has been really... He's stepped his game up under Tony Popovich, and we're seeing that. The interplay with and even Francesco Margiotta, Brimmer, Brillante finishing off with a lovely strike from just outside the box. They're playing with confidence at the moment, Melbourne Victory. There's a real swagger to them, and that's why I think, I'll talk about it a little bit later, but I genuinely think they're serious contenders for at least the premiership. I don't know if we're going to talk about championship yet, but they've got the kind of side, they've got the kind of depth to take them far this season in the A-League men's competition. So with that 2-goal lead, Western United, Jamie Young was furious after conceding those 2 goals, the Western United goalkeeper. From there, Western United were creating chances that first half, and in the second half were probably the better team. And they did get that goal back. It was Prijovic, the substitute who came on, the Serbian striker. We haven't seen too much of him so far this season. Came off the bench for Dylan Wenzel Halls and made an impact. He scored a fantastic goal. It was a bit of an air swing from Roderick Miranda. Overall, the Victory defence was very solid throughout this game. I thought Hamill, Miranda at the back, fantastic as always. Ryan Marchand sitting in front of that back 4 has settled into life nicely in Australia. So that gave them a sniff. It was the 86th minute that goal was finally scored for Western, but it wasn't to be. There wasn't an equaliser to come for the green and black. It was Melbourne Victory. D'Agostino yet again coming off the bench to score a goal. The counter-attack, they broke away. It was a really funny moment, and it was shared online on Twitter and stuff, of Neil Kilkenny, who had initially played a long ball up. Melbourne Victory come for the counter-attack, and Neil Kilkenny's just frozen. And I'm not sure what was going on there with Neil Kilkenny, and just looking like a statue. But Victory burst away, 3 players on the counter-attack, Marco Rojas, Volupele, D'Agostino, and Nick D'Agostino doesn't miss those sorts of chances. That was the 94th minute to claim the 3-1 victory. A huge 3 points for Melbourne Victory, because it takes them to top of the A-League men's ladder. Of course, there's plenty of games to be played involving all these other teams, but at the moment, you have to say Melbourne Victory, one of the front runners in the A-League men's competition. And that segues nicely into the next game because the team who were sitting on top leading into this round was Macarthur FC, who lost 3-0 at home to Sydney FC. And again, another big game. My prediction for this one, I said 2-2. I thought, both teams with a lot to play for and a bit of a rivalry being established between these two clubs. Coming into this game, some changes made for both sides. Sydney were undermanned. They were missing the likes of Ninkovic, Lafondra, Camp Sober. We know that, of course, Costa Barbarousas is still out for another few weeks with injury. So it was a reasonably youthful lineup that started for Sydney FC with the likes of Patrick Wood and Trent Bahagia, Patrick Yazbek as well. His second consecutive game starting in midfield for Sydney FC. And they played really well. Macarthur actually came out firing in those opening 10 minutes and could have had a goal early on there. But it was the Sky Blues who, through some really good play and controlling midfield, were really cutting Macarthur apart at times. And you could see pretty much with all of the goals, they exploited the space in behind the wing-backs for Macarthur FC. For the Bulls, it's been Craig Noon and Moody Najjar on those wing-back positions who like to get forward. And I specifically shout out to Moody Najjar, who I thought was great in this game. He's actually been one of the more underrated players so far this season. He hasn't necessarily stolen any of the headlines in any of these games so far, but he's worked really hard, Moody Najjar, this left wing-back position. And they were torn apart in a defensive sense. Those spaces in behind, obviously they have those three central defenders, Macarthur FC. And it was the pace of Burgess, Bahagia, Patrick Wood, who were causing havoc in the back line for Macarthur FC. It's Patrick Wood who got the first goal in the 11th minute. Max Burgess doubling the lead for Sydney FC in the 28th minute, taking that 2-goal lead into half-time. And from there, the second half was relatively even. Sydney probably could have even had a few more. They did get a third, though, Trent Bahagia in the 58th minute, and they could have had a few more after that. Patrick Yazbek had a shot from long range as well. But shout out as well to Yazbek and Palaretre in defensive midfield, who were fantastic. I spoke about it last week, but it was a masterstroke making that move to shift Anthony Caceres further up the field, where he's, in my opinion, better utilised in a more attacking role as one of those number 10s. The system seems to be working because bringing Patrick Yazbek into that Sydney FC side takes some of the defensive responsibility off the likes of Retre and Caceres, who can be a bit more creative. And we even saw in that first goal, that fantastic ball played through by Retre to set up that first goal for Sydney FC. So look, the Sky Blues have got it ticking at the moment. 2 consecutive wins. They won 2-1 to Wellington Phoenix. They were showing good signs, and that game wasn't the most convincing performance, but did play well. And in this game, even better, and in an attacking sense, looked really fluid, and some of the combinations for these young guys are really impressive. And now a headache for Corica, because does he in the next game, does Steve Corica change up this system that Sydney FC have now set up with these young guys combining so well? I thought Max Burgess was probably man of the match for me. He was fantastic all game, looked so threatening throughout the whole game for Sydney FC. And, Patrick Wood, a player who I'm really intrigued by, because he's the kind of guy that there was some little moves in this game that he made that was, that you would have normally seen from someone like Milos Ninkovic, Adam Lafondra, these experienced players who, have the wits to know how to get around a defender and stuff like that. Patrick Wood was making those sorts of runs, taking on players. It was exciting stuff from Sydney FC. And after such a slow start, it wasn't a terrible start, but obviously, they were struggling to find the back of the net. They were struggling to win games in those opening 4 rounds, and now 2 consecutive wins. It's looking a lot more positive for Sydney FC. And from a Macarthur FC point of view, a bit of a shocking result has to be said. They were undefeated so far this season, barely conceded any goals so far this campaign, and conceded 3 here at home. So work to be done for Ante Milicic. Are there changes to be made? Overall as a lineup, it was pretty much, aside from Jake Holman coming into the side, it was pretty much the same system, same setup that they've been running so far this season. So a big win for Sydney FC. Of course, the postponed matches, Adelaide United against Perth. The late one that was postponed, Newcastle Jets against Western Sydney Wanderers, which was scheduled to be on Boxing Day. And we knew that Brisbane Roar against Melbourne City was also being postponed. And then the one that was of course, postponed today on the day that I'm recording this. And as I mentioned at the top, I was meant to be at this game literally right now. Mariners taking Wellington Phoenix. Very disappointed because obviously we're all looking forward to getting down to see our teams play in some live football. But man, it's just the world we live in at the moment, and it's disappointing, and we'll keep our eye out, an ear out in terms of what's happening in future rounds. But look, some big results for these two sides, some positive results that takes Melbourne Victory to the top of the ladder, Sydney FC into the top 6. We've got some big games coming up in the next round. Whether these go ahead, as I mentioned, we'll have to wait and see. Mariners take on Macarthur. Jets host Melbourne City. Wanderers host Western United. Adelaide take on Wellington Phoenix. Sydney against Perth. And Victory against Brisbane Roar. So some interstate games there, which again might make things interesting. So hopefully as many of those games as can possibly go ahead do go ahead, but as I mentioned, we'll keep an eye out for those. Hey, thanks for checking out this more of a little bit of an interesting round review video. Only 2 games to talk about, but still, we're always here for any A-League men's action. The football doesn't stop over this festive period, of course. Hopefully, you've had a fantastic Christmas and have had a break from work or school or wherever it is. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. See you in the next one.